Hello and welcome to Taylor Talks Comics. My name is Taylor. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to talk about breaking news from DC Collected Editions as well as IDW and Boom Studios. The biggest drop though was DC Comics with lots of absolute editions, omnibuses, DC's finest, compendiums, etc. But do stay tuned for this. Please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below with your thoughts. Which of these books are you most excited to pick up? And which ones are you most excited to find out more of? Because I don't have the contents for all these books. So I want to continue the conversation down below. And if you like to chat comics on Wednesdays at noon Eastern, I go live on Taylor Talks Comics Live to talk to you guys about comic book news. And I also let you guys kind of guide the conversation as well. So stay tuned for that. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and get on with this. So bear with me just one moment while I prepare this. I'm going to try to do more of these breaking news types videos whenever these collected editions drop. And I do want to give a shout out to Kenny over at the Omnibus Collectors Group. He's the one that's always on the forefront of getting these drops. He's scraping through all of the catalogs to find sorry about that, to find the latest and greatest news for us as far as what collected editions are coming out. So I'm going to share my screen. I'll try to make this more smooth in the future too, so it's not so scattershot, but all right, so up first we have the Superman Man of Steel by John Byrne Absolute Edition. This is including the first 6 issues of the Man of Steel run, which is the run that John Byrne did directly following Crisis on Infinite Earths. So it's kind of like the new reboot of Superman. And this will actually have restored artwork as well. I know Jeff over at the Omnibus Group shared that he owns one of the original art pieces for one of the pages in the story, and someone reached out to him from DC to try to scan it in to touch up things, and probably maybe even post the original art page within the book. There's gonna have a lot of extras. This will be 200 pages and $100. Up next, we have the Batman Bronze Age Omnibus. So this is a long-awaited omnibus that we've all been waiting for. This is we've had Golden Age, we've had Silver Age, and now we have Bronze Age. And this is the beginning of what we'll see for leading up to the Neil Adams run, which I think that's a Neil Adams cover right there. This will be $150, 1,064 pages. This will be coming out July 28th of next year. And it's starting the dark and gritty era of Batman. Suicide Squad by John Ostrander Omnibus Volume 2. This will be $150, 1,008 pages, due out in May of 2026. And we know because of the introduction for the first omnibus by James Gunn that there'll be 3 volumes total. So this is just the second volume of 3 for Suicide Squad. And you can see the kind of descriptions and stuff there. Pause the video at any time if you want to read the descriptions. I'm going to try to kind of fly through this because I think there's over 60 plus slides that we're going through today. Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum. This is just a standard size hardcover. I didn't put a lot of standard size hardcovers or standard trade paperbacks on here, but this one is interesting because this is W. Maxwell Prince and Martin Morazzo, the same team that brings us Ice Cream Man and Art Brut, but most famously Ice Cream Man over at Image Comics. They're doing a Superman story. It's 5 issues. This will be 184 pages, $29.99, due out April 2026. And the first issue for this hasn't even dropped yet. So it's cool that they're already announcing the collected edition. We got a DC Finest. This is Batman, A Death in the Family. This will be following the Killing Joke volume of the DC Finest. $39.99 as they all have been, and 648 pages. So these are still coming out over 600 pages, still coming out $39.99, this DC Finest line. This will be out April of 2026. And it's good to see that they're pumping these out. This is kind of DC's answer to the Epic Collection line. Possibly better than the Epic Collections just because of the price point and the page count. But we're getting a good chunk of Batman in chronological order here, and I love it. Up next, we have a reprint of the Robin the Bronze Age Omnibus, or what I like to call Robin the College Years, because this is none of these are Robin solo issues. They're all done in like Batman or Detective Comics, but it is Robin when he goes off to college. So you get some solo adventures from him. They're like the backup strips in those issues. 912 pages, due out in April, and this is a reprint. So this has been out before. Animal Man by Tom Veitch and Steve Dillon, Compendium, with some artwork by Chaz Truog. This directly follows the Grant Morrison run. So if you have the Grant Morrison Animal Man Compendium by Chaz Truog and Grant Morrison, this directly follows that. That run ended with issue 26. This will start with issue 27 and go forward. Chaz, I think, only drew the three or four issues after Grant Morrison left the book before we get other artists on here. But this is exciting because this has been previously released in thick trade paperbacks, but not as a compendium. And I don't know how this is 640 pages. So I don't know if this will complete the run. The run has never been completed. I think the last 10 issues of this run were never collected, but $59.99 due out in April. DC Finest, this one I'm really excited about. The Flash, the fastest man dead. So I'm a huge Flash fan. This one, I think, directly follows the Silver Age Omnibus Volume 3. So a lot of material that's never been collected, and an era that hasn't been collected from Flash. Right now, the way we're looking at it, which we'll see later, we're getting almost all of Flash in Omnibus or Deluxe Edition format, oversized format, from Crisis on Infinite Earths all the way through Joshua Williamson's run. We almost have the entire almost 40-year history in oversized hardcover. And then we also have the 3 Silver Age omnibuses, but between Silver Age Omnibus Volume 3 and that William Eisner Loeb's omnibus, we have not a lot of Flash collected during that period, which is about, I think, 150 issues or so. So this will be the first time we're getting some of this, and it'll be 584 pages, $39.99, due out in April. This is a reprint, Legion of Superheroes 5 years later, Omnibus Volume 2, $175, so carrying a higher price tag, and 1,328 pages, due out in April, reprinting and concluding the 5 years later Legion of Superheroes Omnibus run. Just 2 volumes for that. This one I'm super stoked about. Batman Gargoyle of Gotham, the Deluxe Edition by Rafael Grampa, written and drawn by Rafael Grampa. This will be $34.99, due out in April 2026, 232 pages, collecting the entire miniseries by Grampa, an incredible artist. He did the Dark Knight Returns Last Child, I think it was called, by Frank Miller. Was that one? Whatever it was called. He did one of those short one-shot graphic novel type deals with Frank Miller that takes place in the Dark Knight Returns universe, so it's cool to see him back on Batman and also writing the character. Batman in Golden Age Omnibus Volume 3. This is a reprint. It'll be $100, 784 pages, due out in March of 2026. Swamp Thing by Rick Veitch, Book 3, Time Upon a Once. This is the concluding volume of Rick Veitch's run, where he was writing and drawing it with some help on art by Tom Mandrake and Tom Yeats. This 424 pages, due out in March on St. Patrick's Day. What a perfect day for a Green Monster to come out. But this will be the concluding volume of Rick Veitch's run, like I said. Now, he stopped the run at 87. Issue number 88 he was working on, but then DC nixed the idea because this was the story arc that Rick Veitch was going through, was where Swamp Thing was meeting all these historical figures in time. In issue number 88, he's going to meet Jesus. And a DC editorial thought that was a little bit too much, and they wanted him to change the story, and he was not willing to for censorship reasons. So he never did it. Now Rick Veitch is on record for saying that he would be willing to go and redo that or complete that issue, write and draw it now today. He's still a working artist, and do it for an omnibus edition. He said that a few years ago, DC had reached out about doing an omnibus for his run, and he said he's willing to do that, which I think would be awesome to have like an exclusive, never before released single issue in an omnibus. But they instead went to the trade paperbacks. I don't think that issue 88 will be done by him for this volume. I think it's probably saved for something more special like an omnibus, but I digress. And then we have a DC Finest Western #1. We got Otto Bender writing in some of these, which is great. A lot of these classic Western comics have not been collected by Marvel or DC, so it's great to see that they have a collection here. 601 pages, $39.99, due out in March. I definitely want to check out that and see who all is included in that. We got another reprint. This is Joker, the Bronze Age Omnibus, $125, 832 pages, and due out in February 2026. This was it didn't sell well at first, but then it became kind of a whale. There's some exclusive issues in here that have never been released previously. Some Bronze Age Batman stories. I think that now that we have the Bronze Age Batman line starting, hopefully they'll be eventually collected. But I digress. Another reprint, Green Arrow, the Golden Age Omnibus, Volume 1. This, people have said that this includes Jack Kirby stuff. It does. I don't think it does. This is Volume 1. I think Jack Kirby Green Arrow issues would be in a Volume 2. The Jack Kirby stuff has been collected previously in a standard-sized omnibus, but not this. This has been previously released before, though, so if they do a Volume 2, I think that would have the Jack Kirby stuff. But regardless, $100, 792 pages, February 17th. Speaking of Green Arrow, we have Trial of Oliver Queen, DC Finest. This will be continuing after the last volume that we got. So directly following up that one, 632 pages, due out in February. And that's going to give us over 1,200 pages of Green Arrow from Mike Grell, which I think would be about what we got in the first volume of the Omnibus. So then we would just need 2 more DC Finests to conclude the run. Tom Strong Compendium 2, $59.99, due out in February, 752 pages. I don't know exactly what this collects. This one is a little bit interesting to me. I don't know what this is. Author Peter Hogan and illustrated by Chris Sprouse. We have the previous Tom Strong Compendium, which I don't even know if that said Volume 1 on it. I don't have mine handy, or else I'd look at it. And there were creators that worked on Tom Strong after Alan Moore left. And Tom Strong appeared in the Terrifics for a while. So I don't know if that's what this is collecting. A lot of those ancillary kind of titles and things. But 752 pages, I don't know if there's that. It has to collect the entire Terrifics run, I'd assume, if it's going to be that big of a page count. But I don't know. Let me know in the contents if you have or comments if you have a prediction for the contents of this. The Flash, The Road to Rebirth Omnibus, $125, due out in April, 872 pages. Now, I'm not exactly sure on the contents of this one, but I think this follows up the Francis Manapul run, the Francis Manapul Omnibus. So we had the Francis Manapul New 52 Omnibus, and then there's a gap between that one and the Joshua Williamson run, which was started off the Rebirth era of Flash. Now this is Road to Rebirth, so I think this is going to fill that gap between those two, which means that we'll have from Crisis on Infinite Earths all the way through Joshua Williamson Volume 2 that will be coming out later this year, completely filled with the exception of William Eisner Loeb's Volume 2 and possibly Mark Waid Volume 3, which we might see in this catalog, but I'll continue that conversation in a little bit. New Teen Titans Omnibus Volume 2. This is a reprint of this run by Perez and Wolfman. $100, and this will be 640 pages, due out in March. Love that they remapped these with these new editions, so this will be the proper reading order if you already got the Volume 1. John Constantine Hellblazer by Paul Jenkins and Sean Phillips Omnibus. So this era, I believe, again, I don't have contents on this, but I believe this will follow up the Garth Ennis Omnibus. So we got 2 Jamie Delano Omnibuses, then the Garth Ennis Omnibus, and then this one. I'm assuming that they'll continue the Omnibus line with these, but it's great to see Hellblazer in this line. I'm honestly surprised that they released all 300 issues of the Hellblazer run in those thick trade paperbacks. I think there's like 26 volumes of those. I'm really honestly surprised they didn't do compendiums. I thought this character, with it being a Vertigo title, would be ripe for the compendium format, but we're getting omnibuses, so hey. Catwoman, the New 52 Omnibus Volume 1. We got Anna Sinti writing, Judd Winnick illustrating with Adriana Mello. $100, it'll be 736 pages, due out in March. Shade the Changing Man by Peter Milligan and Chris Bacalo. Omnibus Volume 2, $125, due out in February, 992 pages. This Volume 1 just came out this week, so this is exciting that we're getting the follow-up less than a year later. It was like 6 or 7 months later, and I think this will conclude the series. Yeah, this should conclude it, so that'd be exciting to have this run. I've always wanted to read this run, so I'm excited to. I've only read like the first, I think 10 or 15 issues I think I had in a trade paperback, so I'll be excited to read the whole thing. And then here was what I was talking about earlier. Flash by Mark Waid, Volume 3. So we have all of Mark Waid's Flash run now. $150, due out in February, 1,184 pages. So basically, the quick reading order would be William Esner Loeb's Volume 1. Then we need that Volume 2 has not been announced. It won't be talked about this video because they haven't talked about it yet, unfortunately. Then we get Mark Waid, Volumes 1, 2, and 3. Directly following that, we get Jeff Johns, Volume 1, 2, and 3. Then directly following that, we get the Francis Manapul Omnibus. Then we get the Flash Road to Rebirth Omnibus we just talked about. And then you'll get to the Joshua Williamson Volumes 1, 2, and eventually a 3, which I may or may not talk about in this video. And then we're good. We have everything in oversized format. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention the Deluxe Edition by Grant Morrison, which goes between Mark Waid Volumes 2 and 3, but still oversized. So we're only missing William Esner Loeb's Volume 2, and we'll have everything from Crisis on Infinite Earths all the way through Joshua Williamson's 3-volume run in oversized hardcover. Amazing. I love the Flash. I'm very excited about that. DC Finest, Wonder Woman Enter the Cheetah. This is some Golden Age era Wonder Woman content in the DC Finest format. Only have a cover for this one. Oh, sorry. Woo. Dead Man. How many times can a guy die? Arnold Drake, Neil Adams, Bob Haney. This will be DC Finest. And the omnibus that we got for this was, I think, about 700 pages. So this will be close to the entire content of the omnibus. I'm assuming a second volume of this would finish off that and also maybe collect the Kelly Jones era of Deadman. This is a reprint, Omega Man by Tom King Deluxe Edition. This is a reprint that I've been wanting for a long time. I've never read this run. Missed out on the Deluxe Edition, so I'm glad to see this is coming back. Teen Titans by Jeff Johns Compendium. I love this run. It was pivotal to me in high school. I read as appointment reading for me in high school. I have the omnibus, but I'm excited for people that don't own the compendium for this to come out. And I'm assuming they'll probably have follow-up volumes to collect the next content that the omnibus didn't. This might also collect some of the issues that were missing from the omnibus that Jeff Johns didn't do. The Joker is getting his own DC Finest line. This is the last Ha-Ha by Dennis O'Neil, Bob Haney, and Elliot Magan are the credited artists and writers on here. I believe this looks to be Bronze Age era, so it might mirror some of the contents in that omnibus we talked about. Batman by Chip Zdarsky, Omnibus Volume 1. It's really cool. You can tell this is a Chip Zdarsky design cover. He is an artist, not just a writer. So it totally looks like something he would design. He has a very minimalist style when he does his design work. But yeah, Chip Zdarsky already getting the omnibus treatment right away after his run just finished up. DC Finest The Demon, Birth of the Demon. We got Jim Starlin. Jack Kirby's not listed. He's on the cover though. Jack Kirby is, and Lynn Wein and Mike Royer. But then we get Jim Starlin. I don't know if maybe that content still needs to be changed. All of this is subject to change, but regardless, it's a Jack Kirby image on the cover. Jack Kirby's name's on the cover of the book. This will be collecting the 16-issue run of his, and then some follow-up Demon stories. 536 pages, $39.99, due out in February. Elseworlds Superman Omnibus. So the Elseworlds got a bunch of trade paperbacks pumped out, and now we're getting omnibuses. These are as you can imagine, Elseworlds Tales of Superman. Collected all the miniseries and such in here, but it is listed as a volume 1, so they'll have more content for a future volume. $150. Comes out in April, 1,240 pages. This one I'm stoked about. Legends Omnibus. $100, due out in April, 784 pages. I just read the Legends miniseries, the 6-issue miniseries, for the first time. It was in the beginning of the Suicide Squad by John Ostrander omnibus. And this is the first event series that DC came out with after Crisis on Infinite Earths. So Crisis on Infinite Earths really kind of sucks up and kills off and just brings all of DC back to one Earth. Kind of deconstructs everything. And then Legends is constructing the future going forward. So it launches a bunch of new titles like Suicide Squad, like Shazam, like John Byrne's Man of Steel, like JLI, and Flash by William Messer-Loebs. It launches a lot of these titles through this event. It includes Darkseid and Phantom Stranger having kind of a battle and gambling for the future of the universe or the world or whatever. Really, really fun, the 6-issue event. But after reading it, I was like, I'd like to read a lot of these spin-offs and important tie-in issues and things to go along with it. This would make a great omnibus. And then here we are. So thanks, DC, for reading my mind. DC Finance Wonder Woman Dawn Before Darkness. This is the Gail Simone era being put into the DC Finance line. This is only 472 pages, which might be the slimmest of the DC Finance volumes we've had so far, but still carries a price tag of $39.99. And you can see the contents there too, if you want to pause the video. Sergeant Rock, the Rock of Easy Company. This is some great war comics from back in the day. A lot of good work in here by Joe Kubert. He was one of the main characters that he worked on. This will be 616 pages, $39.99, and it includes GI Combat 68 and Our Army at War 81 through 122. So I'm really excited for these classic war comics by Joe Kubert. Superman Time and Time Again, coming out in May, 600 pages, $39.99. And this includes Superman 49 to 56, Starman 28, Adventures of Superman 472 through 479, and Action Comics 659 through 666. So I think this is Dan Jurgens era. Yeah, Dan Jurgens and Walt Simonson, Roger Stern are all listed on here. So that's kind of like modern age, I guess. It would be after Bronze Age. DC Finance Team Ups The Impossible Escape, 624 pages, $39.99, due out in June. DC Finance Robin, The Origin of Robin, 601 pages, $39.99. This I'm guessing includes all the important issues of Robin. It'll be interesting to see how this is mapped, because once he appears in the Batman comic, he rarely isn't in a Batman issue, but I don't think this will collect everything because that'd be crazy. But it says spanning Silver and Bronze Age, so I'm assuming it'll be all the important Robin stories. Might be a good volume to have if you're getting that Bronze Age omnibus, so kind of lead into that possibly. Fourth World is getting their own DC Finance. Fourth World by Jack Kirby. I have lots of videos on my channel talking about Jack Kirby and the Fourth World. But this will be 592 pages, $39.99, due out in June, and it collects the first 4 to 5 issues of all the 4 different titles that Jack Kirby was writing and drawing and then molding into what would become the Fourth World. So I believe to conclude this, they would need one volume, possibly 2 volumes, but they might, it is just Fourth World, so they'll probably lead into after Jack Kirby is off the book as well. Suicide Squad, The Nightshade Odyssey, due out in July. This is a DC Finest, 601 pages, $39.99. We just got 1 volume already released of this era of Suicide Squad in DC Finest. This is the follow-up. DC Finest Hard Traveling Heroes, Green Lantern, $39.99, 601 pages, due out in July. This is the classic Bronze Age run that kicked off the Bronze Age for DC that starts off with the Green Lantern, Green Arrow issues by Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil. We're getting a lot of Green Arrow because this is another reprint of a Green Arrow title. This will be Green Arrow by Jeff Lemire and Andre Sorrentino, the same duo that did Gideon Falls and Old Man Logan and the Bone Orchard Mythos. This is one of their earlier collaborations, maybe their first collaboration, but this is May of 2026. 480 pages, $49.99, and is deluxe edition, so it will be oversized. Batman Superman World's Finest Deluxe Edition. Finally, we're getting this run in oversized format. 333 pages, June of 2026. This is the great Dan Mora and Mark Waid run that they've been working on for the last few years, and it's been spinning off into other titles and things. This will collect the first 10 issues of the World's Finest title, as long as part of Detective Comics 1050. Really, really excited to read this finally in oversized format. The Swamp Thing by Ram V and Mike Perkins in the deluxe edition. This is the much heralded Ram V Swamp Thing run that's come out in the last few years. This will collect Future State Swamp Thing 1-2, Swamp Thing Halloween Spectacular and Swamp Thing 1 through 16, and Poison Ivy, Swamp Thing, Feral Trees 1. So that's about 20 or so issues of 560 pages, $49.99. This might be the book I'm most excited about. DC Universe by Alex Toth, Deluxe Edition. It only says 201 pages. I think that I wonder if that might change. But $49.99 for this. Comes out in July. Alex Toth is one of the all-time great cartoonists, master cartoonist. I have some videos on my channel showing off his work if you want to check that out. I'm so excited to get this. A lot of this DC material I've never read. His stories from Detective Comics, House of Mystery, Witching Hour, Army at War, Adventure Comics, and more. So definitely stoked to check this out. And thank you for watching, by the way. Give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below with your thoughts on which books you're picking up. And subscribe if you haven't already. Nightwing, A Night in Bloodhaven, Compendium 3, due out in May. 1,176 pages, $59.99. So this is the third volume of Nightwing, and it's bleeding through all the way through the Chuck Dixon run. And it seems like we'll get a fourth one eventually that even goes after the Chuck Dixon run. All the Chuck Dixon runs previously released in thick trade paperbacks. Now it's in the Compendium format. Planetary Compendium, July 14th, 864 pages, $59.99, collecting the entirety of the Planetary run. Must-read comics. Must-read comics by Warren Ellis and John Cassaday. Milestone Compendium 5. Shout out to Comics Are Dope. His YouTube channel over there. Subscribe to him if you haven't already. Milestone. He's a big Milestone fan, and I believe he has said that there will be a sixth volume. There's enough material for a sixth volume of this Milestone line, and it'll be $59.99. 1,336 pages. Comes out in June, and it's amazing to have one imprint of DC collected like this in its entirety. Or will be when we have the sixth volume. Superman Adventures Compendium 2, $59.99, 984 pages. June is the date it comes out. I don't know. This collects 29 to 66. I think that's the concluding. I think that's all of it then. But we got Mark Miller in here. I think Scott McCloud's off the book. But regardless, these are some really fun issues. They're quick one and done stories for Superman. It is modeled after the Superman Adventures cartoon, but if you're like bogged down by the 90s of Superman, like the Triangle era and all the trying to keep up with all those omnibuses and things, but you just want some good Superman stories, these are the way to go. Wonder Woman by George Perez, Omnibus Volume 2. This is a reprint, 552 pages, due out in July for $75. Here's an Absolute edition, Absolute Batman White Knight, 400 pages, due out May of next year, $100, collecting White Knight 1 through 8. So we have been wanting a White Knight omnibus, but obviously Sean Gordon Murphy is not finished with the series. So, or the story of this Elseworlds kind of spinoff type deal. So when he concludes that, I'm sure we'll get an omnibus, but this absolutely will look great anyways. His artwork is amazing. Zatanna by Paul Dini omnibus. Shout out OmniDog. Just brag. I know this is one of his most wanted omnibuses. 640 pages, $100. Comes out in May, collecting a lot of all of the Paul Dini run of Zatanna. Another reprint, Teen Titans Bronze Age omnibus, 792 pages, due out in May, $100. This is the Teen Titans era right before the Wolfman Perez era. So if you're wanting to know what the Teen Titans were like before the pivotal Wolfman Perez run, this will be for you. Batman Urban Legends Omnibus Volume 1. This is the $100, due out in May, 760 pages. Collects Urban Legends 1 through 16. This is like the anthology title that's come out over the last few years, telling a lot of different stories from the Batman family. So it's really cool to have it all collected like this. Another reprint, we have Supergirl, the Silver Age Omnibus Volume 1. It comes out in June, $100, 688 pages. Really, really fun stuff. Written by Otto Bender, a lot of these. And I've read this omnibus, and it reads kind of like Archie comics, but with superheroes. I had a lot of fun with it. Nightwing by Tom Taylor, Omnibus Volume 2. This will conclude the Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo era of Nightwing. Great, great cover there. $100, 600 pages, and comes out in July. Wonder Woman Historia, the Amazon's Absolute Edition. This won an Eisner, believe it or not. And it is we'll collect all 3 issues, 256 pages, $100. And that was done in like that magazine trim size format for DC back label. So I wonder if this will be done as an absolute edition in that same kind of format. So it'll be a little bit wider than your typical absolute. Absolute Blackest Nights getting a reprint. This will be 576 pages, $125, due out in May. Batman and Robin by Grant Morrison, absolute edition. This is awesome. This will be due out in June, $125, 712 pages. So it's going to be one of the thicker absolutes, 700-page absolutes. I think Planetary and the Fourth World absolutes are the only ones that have clocked in over 700 pages previous to this. So this includes a lot of content. We got 22, 23, 24 issues, it looks like. Dark Crisis Omnibus. This is a recent event in the DC mythos, spearheaded by Joshua Williamson. Due out June 2026, $125, 992 pages. Justice League Bronze Age Omnibus Volume 1. This is a reprint. It'll be due out June. $125, 856 pages. Another reprint is the Justice League Silver Age Omnibus Volume 1. 125 pages, $896. Sorry. 896 pages, $125. Get that backwards. Comes out in July. And this is the first ever stories of the Justice League. DC Bronze Age by Jack Kirby Omnibus. This is a reprint. Can't recommend this enough. 1,400 plus pages of the best era of Jack Kirby. The 70s were the best era of Jack Kirby, in my opinion. $175. Comes out in June. This collects like everything he did. Oh, geez. Everything he did that wasn't the Fourth World or Compendium. So you got like the Demon, you have OMAC, you have Our Fighting Forces, you got Superpowers, Spirit World. Lots of good stuff in here. Sandman. Elseworlds Justice League Volume 1 Omnibus. 1,144 pages, due out in May, $150, collecting a lot of the Justice League Elseworld stories. The Flash, this is the one I was talking about earlier. Flash by Joshua Williamson, Volume 3 Omnibus. Excuse me while I take a drink of my coffee. July 2026, $125, 888 pages. And it's collecting the Death Metal, Speed Metal #1, and all of the concluding issues of Joshua Williamson leading up to Simon Spurrier taking over. Batman Detective Comics, the New 52 Omnibus Volume 2, 1,096 pages, $150, due out in June. Superman Brainiac Reborn Omnibus, $150, 1,144 pages, due out in June. Now this, I've heard, I haven't got confirmation on this, but I think this will be a gap filler. I think we have all of the John Byrne Man of Steel standard size hardcovers, and then I think it's Superman Exile Omnibus, and then this Omnibus will happen, and then the Triangle Years Omnibus. So I think this fills a gap between Exile and the Triangle Years Omnibus. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Superman Action Comics by Dan Jurgens Volume 2. So we just got Volume 1 by Dan Jurgens. This will be 700 pages, $100, due out in July. That's all DC. That's all the DC comics. Amazing stuff. The Boom Studios and IDW is not as long, so bear with me. But again, give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below which DC comic books you're most excited about. List them all if you want, or ask questions. Maybe I can find answers for you. Let's talk about those in the comments, and then give the video a thumbs up. House of Slaughter Book 2 Deluxe Edition, and then House of Slaughter Book 2 Deluxe Edition slipcase. So Volume 1 comes out this week, the week that I'm recording this video. But next July, so a year later, we're getting a 400-page follow-up to that will take us all the way to issue 30 of House of Slaughter. So that's exciting. And we're getting, in typical Boom Studios fashion, we're getting a slipcase edition and just your regular deluxe. And then The Expanse Dragon Tooth Deluxe Edition is from Boom Studios, $75, 336 pages, also due out in March. Don't have pictures of any of those covers yet. And then from IDW, we're getting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures Compendium Volume 2. So excited for this. I have the first one. I'm still reading through it, and I'll have a review on my channel shortly. But I have other videos on my channel showing off other TMNT comics if you're interested. This will come out in May, 656 pages, $99.99 for the cover price. And it collects issues up to issues 26, plus a bunch of other mini series. You can pause the video and check out all those cool issues it collects there as well. But these were done by Archie Comics, was the publisher back in the day. And these were modeled after the animated series from the 80s that we all know and love. But the comics themselves told different stories. They weren't just direct adaptations of those episodes. Fun read. And then TMNT Volume 1 ongoing omnibus. This is a trade paperback, so it's kind of your compendium format, but IDW is calling it an omnibus. Trade paperback, 1,232 pages, $59.99. This will collect the first 50 issues of TMNT in the modern era of IDW. So if you don't know, IDW took over the TMNT license and then had this 150 issue run, spearheaded by Kevin Eastman, but also a bunch of other creators took over. And Kevin Eastman didn't draw them; he was like co-writing a lot of it, and it lasted for 150 issues. There's a bunch of miniseries and things that also came about, but these paperback omnibuses appear to only be collecting just the issues of TMNT. So it says right here it'll be 3 volumes, assuming 50 issues each volume to conclude the series. Now, if you want all the miniseries and tie-ins spliced through in perfect reading order, you're going to want the Deluxe edition hardcovers or the thicker trade paperbacks that they've been coming out with. Those will collect all 150 issues plus all of the miniseries and tie-ins and events and things. So interesting way to collect it. And then last but not least, Sonic the Hedgehog IDW Collection Volume 6. This is the latest hardcover of the ongoing Sonic the Hedgehog IDW stories, collecting all the way up to issue 56. And this will be 288 pages, $59.99, due out in May. Oh no, I'm sorry. We have some Marvel stuff. How could I forget that we have Marvel comics to talk about as well? Marvel omnibuses. Here we go. Daredevil by Ann Nocenti and Romita Jr. Omnibus Volume 2. This will conclude the Ann Nocenti run on Daredevil, 992 pages, $125. Comes out in July. Captain America Volume 5. So the Jack Kirby omnibus, the Captain America by Jack Kirby, collecting his 70s run that was then reissued as Captain America Omnibus Volume 4, just came out. The retitling of it as Volume 4 just came out. Now we're getting a follow-up Volume 5, collecting the Roger Stern, Sal Buscema, John Byrne, Frank Robbins era. $125, comes out in July, and 1,048 pages. Star Wars Legends newspaper strips, Al Williamson Early Adventures. I believe this is Volume 1, but the title's too long on here to it got cut off there. But this will come out in July, 968 pages, $125. I don't think this will collect everything of the newspaper strips, and I assume this will be collected in the same format that the Epic collections were for these newspaper strips. Instead of, it won't be landscape format, it'll be chopped up to be more comic book page friendly. Punisher and Fury Max by Garth Ennis omnibus. This is exciting. So we have the Marvel Knights omnibus by Garth Ennis. Then we have the 2 Marvel Max Punisher omnibuses by Garth Ennis. Now this is a follow-up to it because he's done more Punisher stories since then. This will collect Punisher the Platoon 1 through 6, Fury Max 1 through 13, Get Fury 1 through 6, and Punisher Soviet 1 through 6. So it's Punisher and Nick Fury done in the Marvel Max treatment by Garth Ennis. $100, 712 pages, July is the date. Captain America by Mark Gruenwald, Volume 3. I think this will be the third of 4 volumes for this. Let me know in the comments. I think this will be 4 volumes to conclude the entirety of Mark Gruenwald's run. 1,184 pages, due out in June, $125. X-Men The Messiah Trilogy Omnibus. 1,112 pages, June 23rd of next year, $125. Collecting the, I guess it's not, is it modern? It's 2007 era X-Men, collecting the Messiah trilogy. Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 7, the first time we've had a Volume 7 for a classic Marvel character that was not Conan the Barbarian. This will be due out in June, $100 for 680 pages, and getting us all the way to Amazing Spider-Man issue number 223. Star Wars Legends New Republic Omnibus Volume 3, due out in June, $150, 1,344 pages. Captain Marvel, Highest, Further, Fastest Omnibus. This is the Kelly Thompson run. This is ostensibly Kelly Thompson Omnibus Volume 2, and it'll be due out in June, $125, 1,072 pages. Spider-Man Brand New Day Volume 3, the Steve McNiven cover. This is the the what do they call it? Not the hive mind, the whatever. They had a group of writers all writing Spider-Man in weekly issues, but this is that era. Brand New Day Volume 3, 1,392 pages, June of 2026, $150, and collecting, it looks about 35 issues of Amazing Spider-Man and a bunch of other ancillary titles. Fantastic Four by Dan Slott, Volume 1. So this is when Fantastic Four came back to Marvel after being gone for a while. Dan Slott took over. This should be 2 volumes total, I believe. June 2026, $100, 832 pages. Excited for this one. Dan Slott's the writer that took over or wrote Fantastic Four prior to Ryan North, the current writer. Wolverine Not Dead Yet Omnibus. This could have been a volume 7, but they decided to go with a different title instead. May 2026, 2026, $150, $13.92 is the page count, and giving us all the way up to Wolverine issue number 158 in the omnibus format. Invincible Iron Man Volume 4, $125, May 2026, also 968 pages, getting us all the way through Iron Man issue number 112 in the omnibus format. Star Wars New Republic. This is a trade paperback. I want to skip that one. Star Wars Legends Omnibus Volume 1. This is May 2026, 928 pages, $125. X-Men Trial of Gambit Omnibus with a Joe Madureira cover. Looks great. Due out in May 2026, 864 pages, $100, collecting the Trial of Gambit series and all the X-Men issues that were important around that same era. Web of Spider-Man Volume 2. Excited about this one as well. I loved the first volume. I have an overview of it on my channel. This comes out in May 2026. $150, 1,360 pages. Great stuff here. Thunderbolts Dark Reign Omnibus. This will be due out in May as well. 1,328 pages, $150. And I think this is the only Thunderbolts material we've never had collected in Omnibus. I think they now have pumped out everything. So that's exciting. And then I think this is the last one. Yeah. Incredible Hulk Return to the Monster Omnibus. Due out in May, 1,264 pages, $125. Collecting the the Bruce Jones era of Hulk, which has been a gap of Hulk comics we have not had in the omnibus format. So that was it. I kind of forgot about Marvel there for a second, but Marvel, DC, Boom Studios, IDW, all the books that have been announced lately over the last few weeks that'll be coming out in 2026, the first half of 2026. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to do more of these breaking news videos, so you want to subscribe so you don't miss out. Also, check out my live show on Wednesdays at noon, where I talk about comic book news and then chat with you guys, let you guys guide the conversation a bit. And then all throughout the week, I have pre-recorded content coming out, overviews of different books and things, everything from Marvel, DC to Fantagraphics, Drawn and Quarterly, manga, everything in between. I love all comics. So check that out as well. Give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below with which books you're most excited about from this video. And thank you, everyone. Keep talking comics.